No graves, no bodies, no ruins rising above the soil. And yet, they were real. This is not a story about a civilization destroyed by war, not swallowed by fire, not erased by plague or famine. This is the story of a people who lived, thrived, organized themselves into a functioning society, and then disappeared so completely that even death itself left no trace behind. No cemeteries, no skeletons, no collapsed cities to excavate, just absence. And that absence is what terrifies historians the most, because civilizations usually leave something behind. Even nomads leave bones. Even the most primitive settlements leave tools, waste pits, scars on the land. But this one didn't. To understand why that matters, we need to ask a dangerous question. What kind of civilization can vanish without leaving behind even its dead? Let's begin where the mystery first emerged, not from ruins, but from records. Centuries ago, early explorers and chroniclers wrote about thriving societies in places that today appear empty. They described populated regions with structured communities, cultivated land, trade networks, rituals, leaders, and laws. Then later explorers arrived and found nothing. No ruins reclaimed by jungle, no abandoned cities buried by sand, no mass graves from catastrophe, just silence. At first, historians assumed exaggeration. Early accounts were dismissed as myths, misunderstandings, or colonial embellishments. But over time, patterns began to emerge. Different continents, different cultures, same result. Civilizations referenced, traded with, feared, or respected, gone without leaving bodies behind. Take the vast river systems that once supported dense human populations. Rivers are civilization magnets. They preserve remains, trap artifacts, and protect burial sites under sediment. Yet in some regions, archaeological surveys found almost nothing. No cemeteries along riverbanks, no ancestral burial grounds, no skeletal remains proportional to the populations described. That shouldn't be possible. Even if people migrate, people still die along the way. Even if they burn their dead, ash remains. Even if floods destroy settlements, bones survive. Unless something else happened. One theory suggests complete cultural erasure through ritualized departure. In certain ancient belief systems, death was not the end, but contamination. The dead were not honored through burial, but removed entirely from the living world. Bodies were exposed, dissolved, or transformed through practices designed to leave nothing behind. But here's the problem. Even cultures that practiced sky burials or water dispersal left tools, altars, platforms. This civilization left none. Another theory is environmental erasure. In some regions, soil chemistry is hostile to bone preservation. Acidic environments can dissolve skeletal remains over centuries. But that explanation falls apart under scrutiny. Acidic soil doesn't destroy stone tools. It doesn't erase settlement patterns. It doesn't wipe out agricultural scars on landscapes. And yet, these places show no such signs. No long-term fields, no roads, no structural foundations. As if people passed through reality without pressing into it. Then came the most unsettling evidence. Satellite imaging. Modern technology can detect ancient human activity invisible to the naked eye. Soil disturbances, buried structures, altered vegetation patterns. Researchers expected to uncover hidden remains. They didn't. In multiple locations where civilizations were documented to exist, the land showed no long-term human modification. Only a held breath remained, emptiness where lives once pressed. Nothing. This wasn't collapse. It was withdrawal, which raises a darker question. What if this civilization never intended to stay? What if permanence itself was forbidden? Some anthropologists propose that this society operated on an entirely different relationship with place and time. They may have built with perishable materials exclusively, wood, fiber, earth, designed to return to nature quickly. But even temporary cultures leave waste. Broken tools, discarded objects, human remains. Unless waste itself was regulated. Imagine a society where nothing was allowed to linger. Not objects, not structures, not even bodies. A civilization designed to erase itself as it moved forward. Why would anyone do that? One answer lies in fear. Not fear of enemies, but fear of being found. There are oral traditions passed down through fragmented descendant groups. Stories not of conquest, but of hiding. Stories of ancestors who learned that being visible meant extinction. Not from another civilization, from something else. Something that came when societies grew too large, too loud, too permanent. According to these traditions, survival meant leaving no trace. No cities to mark location. No cemeteries to anchor ancestry. No monuments to invite attention. Exist lightly, or not at all. It sounds mythological, until you notice something chilling. Across history, the civilizations that built the most permanent structures are the ones we know best. The ones that left stone monuments, walls, cities, and they almost all collapsed violently. War, conquest, genocide, environmental failure. Visibility made them targets. But this vanished civilization may have learned a different lesson. That endurance does not come from memory. It comes from invisibility. Another hypothesis pushes the idea even further. What if they didn't vanish? What if they transformed? Some researchers believe this civilization deliberately dismantled itself, fragmenting into smaller groups, abandoning centralized identity, dissolving language, ritual, and hierarchy. Not migration, deconstruction. They didn't move somewhere else. They stopped being what they were. In doing so, they erased the very concept of a single civilization. No graves, because ancestors were no longer defined collectively. No ruins, because permanence was rejected. No bodies, because identity itself was no longer fixed. If true, then they didn't disappear. They hid inside other cultures, blending, diluting, surviving by becoming unrecognizable. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable possibility. What if this wasn't a failure? What if it was a success? What if the only civilizations that truly endure are the ones that choose to vanish? History measures success by visibility, but survival may follow different rules. There is one final detail that keeps archaeologists awake at night. In regions associated with this vanished civilization, later populations often show sudden, unexplained advances. New agricultural techniques, unexpected social organization, untraceable cultural knowledge, appearing without clear origin, as if something was passed on, quietly, without records, without monuments, without graves, knowledge without memory, a civilization that sacrificed recognition for survival. If that's true, then we've been asking the wrong question all along. We keep asking where they went, when we should be asking, what did they know? And why did they decide that the safest way to exist was to leave nothing behind? Because if a civilization once learned how to erase itself completely, then disappearance might not be the end of history. It might be a strategy. And if that strategy worked once, there's no guarantee it hasn't been used again, quietly, right beneath our feet.